This is the motor mount for the mini Talon. The wooden motor mount for the back of the model, and the metal motor mount for the motor. And as you can see, the holes don't exactly line up correctly, so I have to drill some new ones. So there's the motor mount for the motor, and I just marked 4 little places there. The holes I need to drill are just inside the pre-drilled holes. So let's see if I can do that. There we go. 4 little holes drilled. Got the metal motor mount on the plywood motor mount that gets glued into the fuselage. Got 4 little M6 bolts through it. I'm going to replace these nuts with blind nuts. The blind nuts arrive tomorrow, so that's about all I can do with this for today. But there's the metal motor mount mounted to the wooden motor mount. Oops. I guess that's the top. There's the whole assembly, just dry fitted together. I need to change the position of these 3 barrel connectors to control the direction of rotation of this motor, and I'm going to have to check that probably today or as soon as I can, because this won't really go in the fuselage the way it is. Here's the ESCs. I've got to put a pigtail on this to connect to the output of the 765 wing. But what's going on here is the distance from the motor mount to these 3 connectors is so short I can't I'm going to have it in the fuselage when I glue the 2 sides together. So if we can get this in the picture, I'll show you the problem. Here's the fuselage. This is where the motor mount goes. So this goes right here. It'll mount right there. Now you can see what I'm talking about is right here's where those connectors are to change the direction of the rotation of the motor. And see, I'll never get a hand or anything because this whole part right here is glued. All in here's going to be glue. So this is one solid piece of foam right here, and then the upper part. So the only thing I know to do is go ahead and solder on my 2 leads for the ESC, and then put it on the 765 wing and get my motor direction correct, and then I can shrink wrap these 3 up, and then I can have it like this when I put the 2 fuselage halves together. Because like I say, I'll never reach these 3 bullet connectors right here. All right. Now I'm going to start extending my battery wires on the ESC. And these are stranded cables. So the old trick is to take the 2 ends and just push them towards each other like this. Just back and forth, and what'll happen is they'll start getting like Chinese handcuffs, and the strands will just all intermingle with each other, and you'll have one. It'll be nicer than that before I start soldering it. But there'll be just one piece together that to solder. So I'm going to solder this little extension on here. There we are. Now we have a full ESC for the mini Talon. By the way, this is a Maytech 45 amp opto isolated ESC with no internal BEC. I have to test it because this was on the flame wheel. I had 6 of these. I bought about 3 more for some of the repairs on the flame wheel. This is what I used on the original flame wheel. Well, I liked them. They were pretty good. I should never be pulling 45 amps. I should never be pulling 20 amps. Cruise in an airplane should be about 5 amps, 5 or 6, somewhere around in there. So, to make sure this works and to get my motor direction right, I have to connect it now and somehow make it turn and get the motor direction right. That's just simple as that. Oh, okay, I've got a little battery hooked to my servo tester. I've got a battery hooked to the ESC. I put a little black tape on 2 of the 3 connections here so they didn't short. Okay, and now then, if we hold the motor by the motor mount and look at it, I need clockwise rotation, and I've got counterclockwise rotation. Also missing a screw out of that prop mount. So instead of counterclockwise rotation, I need to change 2 of these wires around, and that should give me clockwise rotation. Oops. So any 2, it doesn't matter. Change those around. See if I can get some of this black tape around that, just enough to keep them from shorting for this test. And there we are. We changed any 2. Now then, let's try this again. And ooh, now we have clockwise rotation. And that's exactly what I need. So that'll get me my prop turning in the correct direction. So there's the way those 3 need to be connected together. So now I can shrink wrap those 3 connections, and my ESC and my motor mount is ready for the mini Talon. Okay, found me a 4th prop mount screw. Put that in there and use some blue Loctite on all 4 of those screws. These are going to be replaced with blind nuts, so again, they come tomorrow. I shrunk wrapped the 4 wires between the motor and the ESC, and I've got my extension on my motor. So there's that. That's all ready to go. I also drilled and screwed down my servo for my pan and tilt today. So now this is basically one piece. We can screw the assembly back on top of this servo. I put the servo tester on it so I could set the pan servo to neutral, and there it is, ready to go. All that has to be done is mount it up. Let's see. Click, click. So there we go. Front all the way around to the right. Front all the way around to the left. So I think that's going to do pretty good. That's the best solution I could come up with. I hate using this really big heavy servo, but can't find a 9-gram mini servo like this that'll do the job. So that's the pan and tilt. Hit that again with some blue Loctite. Don't think there's anything needs to be done with this until we get ready to mount it. I had the MRO airspeed sensor in the fuselage, and now that I've decided to use a Maytech flight controller instead of the MRO flight controller, Mayan Robotics, I had to take the MRO airspeed sensor and PDOT tube out. So this is the Maytech. Boy, I hope those holes right there for the static pressure aren't going to get any turbulence from this. I hope the turbulence is past this and not forward at all, because that's the best I can do. That thing is as far forward in the fuselage as I can get it. That's where the MRO one was. So I'm going to hot glue that in there. I think my wires are going to be just fine right in here. And I'm going to hot glue the sensor itself right there. And because this is going to also use that M8Q-CAN again GPS, I can actually hook the airspeed sensor into the I2C bus right here on that side of the GPS. Now then, the F765, before anybody tells me, no, it does not have a CAN bus in it. So I'll be hooking up this GPS through this UART right here on this right port to UART 2, I think it is, on the 765, and then the airspeed sensor will run through it. And therefore I'm going to mount the GPS right here, I think, in the top of the fuselage. That way this cable will already be there and sort of be out of the way. And then the second cable that comes out of here and goes back to this area, to the flight controller, will go in and be internal. So does that make sense to everyone? Got to get all these kind of hot glued in there, not the GPS. Got to get the airspeed sensor and PDOT tube hot glued in there before I glue these two halves together. So that's my way of thinking. Yeah, I think that'll work. Let's go with that and see what happens. So there's the P-dot tube, hot glued in. I think that's fairly straight. Again, I just not sure about that turbulence. Yeah, hopefully it won't come forward that 1/4 of an inch. Who knows? Again, we'll just have to see. And then there's just a little place glued down one of the pressure tubes there. The other one just barely was long enough. And then I hot glued the, what is it, a 4525 Maytech Airspeed sensor. I glued it down right there. Again, the GPS will be mounted in this area. And then this is the equipment compartment right here. I epoxied it into this side of the fuselage to prepare for putting the parts together. So that is a little more of the mini Talon getting ready to go. Just dry fitting it together to see where some of my next efforts should be. Can't put the motor mount in and glue the fuselage halves together until I get the blind nuts tomorrow. They should be here tomorrow. And then got to mount the GPS, got to mount the video transmitter, got to mount the telemetry radio, got to mount the RC receiver, got to mount the flight controller. Still quite a bit to do, but I think it's coming along well, and I think I'm going to like it. Thank you. Ooh, I hadn't seen the side view. That looks pretty bad. I like it. I like it a lot. I forgot a very important part in the side view. The pan and tilt mechanism on the front. Okay. I haven't cut the hole yet to mount the servo down inside the fuselage, so it'll drop down another inch. But that's the setup. And again, I think I'm going to like the whole thing, including the pan and tilt once it drops down, and it's part of the fuselage. I think I'm going to like all that a lot. Trying not to fall and bust my butt here. Yeah, a few more parts, a little more time. Thank you.